Hello, everybody. How are you doing? I'm Dr. Gail, and there's Juno with her gloves on. Thanks for joining us. Susie will be here in a few minutes. She's caught in traffic right now. This was the first. She's been caught in traffic, and she's about an hour away from home. So she's going to try to come in on her phone. But I want to say hello to Mara, Emerald Buddha, Teresa, White Dragon, Denise, Starry Night Seeker. Let's see who else. Butterfly Kisses. Hi. Who else is in here? Thanks for Dream Journey One, Patty. Thanks for coming in, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate having Juno here and her dog. What's your dog's name?
Pardon me?
What's your dog's name?
One is Comet and one is Juno. So now you know where my name came from.
Comet and Juno. Well, who's speaking to us?
That's Comet. Juno is my doorbell and Comet's my car alarm. You know, he's a little more vocal, so I apologize. There's only so much we can do.
Oh, you know how I go. It's either my cat or my dog doing something, one or the other. But that's the fun of being a pet owner. So right. Anyway, everybody, thanks for joining us. And we're going to be talking a little bit. We're going to be finding out a little bit more about Juno. And then I'll be announcing what my new job is. And then we'll go into the chat and see what questions y'all have. So, Juno, you ready to answer some questions?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Hey, Chris and Kay. Well, we're just going to start with easy ones. Like, hey, son of what? Like, where are you originally from?
I'm from Western New York State near Lake Erie.
Okay.
Near the Cattaraugus Indian Reservation. It's the Seneca Indians. They call it they're the keepers of the Western Door. So
now, are you any relation to them?
Married into the tribe.
Married into the tribe. Okay.
Yep. My kids are half.
Okay. AC Scape, Peyton Carr. Okay. All right. Well, so what brought you're in Arizona right now, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So what brought you there? And when did you move there?
I moved here next August. It'll be 30 years ago. And I moved to the Sedona area, and I sold everything I owned and packed my two kids in the car, and off we went with a lop-eared rabbit riding shotgun, and had quite an adventure on the way out. But I just had enough of the snow and the shoveling and the gray skies. And
oh, gosh, tell me about it. We're getting ready, starting at noon here today. We're supposed to start getting 10 to 20 inches of snow.
Yeah, it gets hot here in Arizona, but you don't have to shovel any sunshine, you know?
Well, that's so funny because all my life I said, I can always drive to snow. I don't have to live in it. And where am I now?
Yeah, really. Well, I can see snow on the mountains around me when certain times in the winter it does snow. We get a little bit on the ground, but it doesn't last. But I can at least see it from my porch if I want to, you know. Yeah. It's close enough.
Hey, Prince
Charlie. But I grew up, when I was back in Western New York, I grew up going to Lilydale, which is the oldest spiritualist community in the United States.
Where's that?
It's south of Buffalo.
Okay.
It's like halfway between Buffalo and, say, Erie, Pennsylvania. It's kind of near Jamestown. It's in a place called Canandaigua. Sorry, there's a Canandaigua. That's the Finger Lakes. But I went there as a teenager and then didn't go there for whatever, moved out of state for a while. And when I came back, I rented some apartments, and the apartment manager was the head of the spiritualist church at Lilydale. And so I spent a lot of time, got to know him real well. And I used to go to church there every Sunday and got real involved. It's a very interesting place. I recommend people check it out if you have the opportunity.
In the summertime.
And they're open in the summertime, and it's you have to be a medium, I think, to live there. Like it's
really?
A special community. Yeah, it's really, really unique place. And they have a museum there that's got all kinds of interesting things that we, paranormal and psychic kind of things that we'd be interested in. But it's just funny how, it was HUD housing, and here I meet, one of my best friends ends up being somebody who's really involved at Lilydale. And I had dinner at his house the last night before I moved to Arizona. So he was a big part of my life. And
can you tell people again, where is that location exactly, how they can find out some information about it if they want to go?
If you just Google Lilydale, Lily, and then the next word is Dale, and then if you can put in spiritualist in your New York, it'll come up. There's several links to it, but it's just north of Jamestown. It's north of Chautauqua Lake. It's on a little tiny lake. I think they call it Bear Lake, but it's like a big pond, not a lake. But I've seen fairies there. I've seen elementals there. It's a very slice at a time. You know, there's a lot of old Victorian style homes with the gingerbread and stuff there. So it's very atmospheric.
Are you real connected to the elementals? Because I got a question for you if you are.
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not an expert, but okay.
There's a trail that I walk on here in Mount Shasta that I connect with the fairies on it. And it's very wooded, very bushy, very green, beautiful. The issue is I never see any birds there. Never hear any birds, see any birds. And I just wonder if there's a conflict between the two of them, or do you know anything about that?
I've heard of some places that have, there's a place, I think it's in Washington State, like where if you roll a ball, it goes uphill. There's like these weird energies.
Right. Yeah. We have that in North Carolina too.
Yeah. And that's a place where I think that you don't hear birds and stuff. That's what I'm picking up on, that maybe I don't know, the only other reason I know of if the birds are really quiet is if there's a predator around, but it sounds like this is always like this.
It's always like that. Every time I've never been on there, and I've always gone, because I'm real connected to the birds, and I'm going, where are the birds? And I'm talking to fairies, and I'm always taking them something, and I'm going, why are the birds not here? So I was just wondering if there was something to that, because I'm kind of new to the elementals, and I didn't know if there was something about the birds and the fairies. So
that's a good question. I'm going to do a little research on that. But what I would suggest is like take your dowsing rods with you and see if you can detect an area. I'm sure if there's ley lines that might go through there. But sometimes if there's a strange, geomagnetic, or is that the word I want to use? Earth energies or. But that's a curious question about is there some kind of issue going on between the birds and the fairies?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know. Well, as I said, since I'm connected to the birds, you notice when they're not there, and they have never been there when I've gone on that trail. So
interesting.
Okay. Well, next, let's see. You said you moved to Arizona. How did you pick Arizona to move to?
Actually, well, a guy I was dating before I moved out here talked about Arizona a lot, and I just felt really drawn to it once I started. I'd picked up Arizona Highways magazine and saw all the beautiful vistas, and then I started to learn about Sedona, and this was when I was just starting to come to understand that that there was something to this, and having had lifelong health issues and allopathic medicine didn't work very well, I was looking into alternative stuff. But this was the early 90s when things were just starting to really open up as far as becoming more talked about and more mainstream.
Right.
And I really felt like spirit led me to go there.
Okay. Just like I am at Mount Shasta. They didn't lead me here. I think they kicked me in the derriere here.
Oh yeah, that pointy-toed cowboy boot. I get those every now and then too. With spurs and everything. Like, you're going. And it wasn't
it was pretty sharp.
Don't sit down. But it was a fun journey, but there was challenges along the way, and it's not always been easy, but the only other place I would live would be New Mexico. I just love this Four Corners area and these southwestern states, and I just think it's gorgeous here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, now let's talk about your ETs, your ET experiences.
I brought some of my little friends with me.
I love those little.
Yeah, this is a cigarette lighter. There's a little switch up here on his shoulder. It's a little cigarette lighter. I'm not sure. I went to Roswell in 2009. I'm not sure if I got it there, or sometimes you forget. I usually remember where I get everything, and for some reason, I'm not sure where. And she's apparently a female alien. She's rather well endowed.
Yeah.
And this is my little Marvin the Martian, and I've had him for decades and decades. He used to light up when he squeezed his rocket ship, but he doesn't light up anymore. But
they're so cute.
I brought him along for moral support.
There you go.
And then I brought some Moldavite, which is, it said, it's possibly ET in origin. There's 3 theories that it's either like an earthly rock that was affected by a meteorite strike, or it was from a lunar volcano, and it was obsidian that somehow landed here, or when this big meteorite hit in the Czech Republic, that there was like a chemical reaction with the meteorite and the rocks on the earth, and then it blew everything up in the air. So this has actually fallen through the sky. This is like the only crystal that has fallen down from the sky, and they can tell by the way it's formed.
Same size as yours.
Oh wow, that's a huge one. That's way bigger than mine. Yeah, mine are like on my fingertips.
Okay.
And this one, I don't know if you guys can see it. It's real like leafy, and it's real delicate, and it's lighter colored. And this particular one comes from a city called Besednice in the Czech Republic, and it's like the only place that real leafy kind comes from. But I just thought I'd share that it's
so is it also connected to out of this world ETs or something?
There's Susie.
Yay, Susie's
It really helps you get connected with your ETs. And
I didn't mean to be on screen. Can you take me off?
I'm trying to take it off. Let me see. There we go. Okay. Our little technical difficulties here, but I can't believe Susie's on. She's on her phone in the car. So,
she's a trooper. We appreciate you, Susie.
Thank you for joining us. So we don't get to see her today. Okay, go ahead, Juno.
So when this meteorite hit the Earth, it caused a reversal in the magnetic poles on the planet. I mean, it had a huge effect on us. And when they found, that Venus of Willendorf, that like the oldest sculpture of a woman, and she's like very
right
avoir du poids, or whatever you want to say, very endowed. They found Moldavite amulets with her at the same time. So this has been a sacred stone going way, way back. The Egyptians were aware of it, and a lot of different people. And it also has a connection to the Holy Grail. So there's a lot of very interesting history about Moldavite. And I wear one all the time. I wear a Moldavite and a Herkimer diamond all the time.
I know a girl that lives here that does too. She wears a Herkimer diamond. I mean, she has a huge one on her chest, and then has the Moldavite around it. I'm going, wow, I think that would I don't know what that would do to me, but that would be strong.
Well, it's kind of like the heaven and earth kind of connection, the Herkimers are from down in the earth, and the Moldavite came from.
So it's like then you would just be floating in between.
Yeah, just kind of hanging out. And it amplifies your, it amplifies your intuitive abilities, your gifts like that. It helps with meditation, anything like along the lines of the things that we always talk about. It's very good for those of us who are light workers.
Right.
So it's an expensive stone, but you only need a small piece to do the trick.
Right. My phone keeps going off here, and I've got it on silent. Okay, so all right, ETs, Juno. ETs.
Well,
start with your first experience.
Well, the 2 that I remember to talk about, and it's funny how things, you have these memories that you push down for a long time, and then they resurface every now and then. But back in the mid 2000s, I was invited to caretake for a ranch south of Sedona that was like all built. It was a log cabin. It had a beautiful pool and everything, and it faced a mountain range called Mingus Mountain to the west. And every night I would sit out by the pool, and just like clockwork, you would see lights that would come, straight up and then dart in right or left, or all kinds of weird formations. And there was no Air Force base up there. There was no landing strip there. We drove over the mountain all the time. You knew it was up there, and it was just like clockwork. And it's just amazing that you could sit there and it would be a regular show every single night. Never let you down.
Actually, that's how it is here at Mount Shasta. Every night there's a spaceship. Whereas when I was in South Carolina, I might see one every, 2 or 3 months. Here it's every night. It'd be unusual not to see one, and there's no base here.
Yeah, yeah, and another thing when I lived in Sedona, and I'm not pushing any kind of conspiracy theories or anything. I'm just giving an observation. You know how a lot of people talk about the chemtrails and stuff like that. You know, when I moved to the Sedona area back in the early 90s, the sky out here is like crystal clear. You know, you get clouds sometimes when it's monsoon, certain times of the summer, but it's usually just blue sky. And then maybe 15, 20 years ago, it started to be this crosshatch of trails in the sky that would like they would make a grid, and then it would make the sky, you'd have this layer of haze. So I don't know what that is. And it's like, we're not on a, it's not on a major airline, path. There was a small airport, but that's not enough to account for that. So I don't know what that is, but I find it very interesting that it didn't used to always be that way, because I lived there, and I saw it. And so it makes you wonder what's that all about. And there would be a lot of times where you would see very interesting cloud formations like you show over Mount Shasta.
Yeah, because today the cloud formation, I knew the Athena sitting over Mount Shasta this morning. The snow clouds have rolled in now, but this morning it was very clear. It was sitting up there. So Susie, White Dragon, all them are getting ready to do some big mission right now, which I won't be involved in. I'm going on to another job. So next, what's your next encounter?
That's exciting. That's exciting. You're going to a new job. And before I forget, I want to make sure I thank you for helping me the other day when I was having that issue with they sprayed those toxic weeds, because that lays me out for 2 or 3 days minimum, and I was not feeling well. And after you worked on me, it made all the difference. And by the next day, I was back up and around and feeling better than I had in a long time. So I'm really grateful. And I really like that the Gray Hybrid cleaned the area before they installed the bubble, because I think that was what really did the trick. So I'm so grateful for the work that you do in your Solaris Healing Center.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was kind of shocked when I saw that ET in there cleaning away.
He was reading my mind.
Who is that and what is that?
Well, what's really weird is the night before that, I was sitting in my room, and I heard this weird thump against my bedroom wall that was not, there was no people out there. There was no animal. I don't know what it was. And then now I started to wonder if it was that Gray Hybrid that was going, hey, I'm here, or somebody. I don't know what it was.
Well, let me add. No, it wasn't. He's just the cleanup.
Yeah. But I've heard some really, like I've had like weird tapping on the wall, on a different wall in that room. I have my big mandalas up on the wall, and they make like, I feel like sometimes like they're portals, good portals, not scary portals. But I've had some very strange sounds come around that.
Well, you do have the ETs around you. It just wasn't a cleanup guy.
Yeah. Well, I'm very grateful for that cleanup guy. I'm grateful for all of them, that are of the highest good. And but I wanted to make sure I let people know that it was really helpful what you did for me. And I'm really sensitive. I don't respond to other allopathic kind of stuff. So this really works better for me.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. It's always good to hear when I'm working with, because everybody's so different and everybody has so many different issues. And it's almost like I'm opening up my chiropractic office and everybody's coming in with different issues. And it's just amazing how, I mean, it's so familiar to me when I'm doing this now. Like I'm so used to it now. It's like, okay, office doors open, y'all come on, pile them in.
Well, I'm just fascinated by the work you do and, how you put all that together. And I love it that you work with the crystals. And I just think that's so awesome.
Well, thank you. All right. Well, let's talk about the next ET experience.
Well, I have been studying this ancient Japanese healing art called Jin Shin Jutsu. It's not jujitsu, the martial art, like a lot of people think. It's Jin Shin Jutsu. And I had an opportunity to take a class in Laguna Beach, California. So I was driving in my car by myself, across the desert from Sedona, and you go, over I-10. And the first town that you come to after you drive through a lot of the desert is a place called Indio. And, you know, I've been on the road. It's like I want to get out and stretch my legs and take care of things, whatever. And I pulled up to a, you know, I try to go to decent places. You know, I'm aware of my surroundings, so I'm by myself. And I just pulled up to a convenience store and I opened the car door and I didn't even get all the way open. It was like something told me, shut that door right now. Like almost like a panicky thing. Like I wasn't safe. There was something out there that wouldn't be good for me, you know. And it wasn't like it didn't look like a sketchy area or anything. And so I closed the door and I calmed myself down and said, okay, I can wait to go pee for a couple more miles. I'll just see where else I can go, as I just wasn't going to get out there. And another thing is I had on my mind is I wanted to stop in Cabazon. That's where the big dinosaurs are that were in the Pee Wee Herman movie. So that was next on my, on my agenda. But in between there, I went a little while down the road and there was one of those big truck stops that you go into and it's like a conglomeration. They've got all kinds of restaurants and, you know, all these things are in one big hub. And so I, you know, pulled in and it was like I couldn't wait to get to Cabazon to stop. So I got out and I walked in and when I opened the door, I think it was to a Taco Bell, but it was like big and open. When I opened the door, it was like being in a movie, and all the people in there, they all turned their heads at the same time to look at me walking in, which I don't know why. And they were all ETs. And I could see like tongues flicking on some of them. I could see their tails twitching. There were a lot of reptilians. There was more than just reptilians there, but I didn't stay long enough to figure out who they were. I got so freaked out. And it isn't, I got tears in my eyes. It isn't until now and meeting you and talking so openly with you that I realized that that wasn't just something I imagined. That was, you know, I felt that down in my gut. It was a visceral feeling. And
thanks for telling your story, because it does help others, you know, become aware that it's truly, that what they're seeing is truly what they're seeing.
Yeah, I've never had an experience like that before, and I really don't care to have that happen again. You know, and so, I don't know that it was negative, you know what I mean, but it was startling.
So I'm assuming you didn't stop there on the way back.
I did not, no. But, well, and what was interesting is after that, then I went to Cabazon and I hung out with the dinosaurs and they made me feel better. And I thought, well, how weird is that? You know, I'm freaked out by the reptilians, but let me go see the giant ones. Exactly. You know, but you know, they had a Burger King there. So I sat and had, you know, took care of my immediate needs and whatever. But, yeah, that was really interesting. And then a short time, like a few weeks after I got back from the class, and I had an appointment with a chiropractor in Sedona who I'd been working with for a long time. And he worked a lot with guides and, you know, different beings. And I told him about that. And he said that area is well known for being, there's a lot of reptilians in that area is what he told me. So for whatever it's worth.
And what was the name of that again?
It was in Indio, Indio. I think it's near Palm Desert.
Okay.
But so it's like, you know, you go through nothing. You know, you drive and drive and drive and there's nothing but desert. And then you start to come into where there's humanity. I think it's near where Coachella is also.
Okay.
But yeah, I hope I'm not doing that again. That affected me for a long time. I shook all the way to, you know, and then driving in the California traffic, which I wasn't used to. I was really glad to get to my destination finally. So,
yeah. Okay. Well, any more experiences you have?
Those are the ones at the top of my head. And I know there was one that ran through my mind the other day and I can't access it again. So,
okay. Well, if it comes up during the show, just let me know. But I'm going to go in and tell everybody about my new job.
Yeah, I want to hear about it.
Yeah, well, Susie is now in charge of the Athena. So she's been really busy and she's been getting a lot of upgrades with that. And now I am on another spaceship, which is a smaller spaceship, but I am now, I don't know the official title, but I'm called the communicator, which I've had that title before on smaller jobs, but this one is I'm communicating between Earth and the ETs, and I'm the communicator between the two. Also, I have found out that the birds and the trees are extremely important. The trees are connected all over the world, and they can get the messages all through all the trees. And the birds sitting on the trees get the messages, and they relay it to all the animals. So I thought that was extremely interesting. That that's how a lot of the communication is done on Earth, is through the trees and the birds. And I didn't realize how important that was to us. Also, I thought, oh, this is going to be a cushy job. That's all I have to do is just communicate between Earth and ETs. Oh no. Last night I had to go into like 10 different espionage things that was communicating, and it was just so stressful. I can't really talk about those adventures, but that's probably the least favorite thing I've done. And it's usually, I think, when you're at the bottom of the totem pole, you're going to a lot of the espionage. So I'm hoping this will be short-lived until they move me away from it, because I've done it several times. And as I said, that's not my favorite job, to be in that kind of things. I don't like fighting, and I don't like being shot at, and I don't like any of that. So
is that like ET hazing, like college hazing? Is that what that is?
Well, it's just the lowest end of the job on what I'm doing. And it is part of communicating, because I am out there giving information, and it's being passed through person to person. And I've got somebody who is somebody who is helping me, who I don't know who that is yet. And we both have the ability to switch out what we look like all the time. We stay human, but we have the ability to turn. Either we have really blonde hair or really dark hair. We look Native American. We're able to change our looks like that all the time. And for every situation, we are changing. So, which is interesting to see. But as I said, I changed, I think, 10 times last night, at least 10 times. Every different situation where I was either delivering information or I was receiving information, and it was all over the world. So I thought my little cushy job turned into not so cushy. So, but anyway,
do you meditate to get to that place, or is it just when you're sleeping, or how do you?
All of it, actually. It started when I was sleeping, and then meditation, and then it doesn't matter. Like right now, I can tell you, my light body can go over here and do this while I'm sitting here. I also can astral travel while my light body's doing something and my body's here. So I can do all that, and I'm very aware of it. And I'm not real sure why I'm the one that's being allowed to remember all that, because everybody's always asking me that question. And they're going, well, why can't I do it? Why can't I do it? I'm going, I think the real question is, why can't I do it? Why am I the one remembering? I think we're looking at this a little wrong way. It's why me?
You're a pioneer, Dr. Gail.
Why am I able to put my body here and astral travel here and my light body go there? How can I do that and remember it? I know we're all doing it. It's just, I'm not sure why I'm the one to remember it. And especially the one that gets on YouTube and talk about it. I'm not the the one that's usually out there. I'm usually the shy one out in the corner. So I'm always wondering why me, but I'm doing it. So
we're glad you are.
All right. So next we're going to questions. Anybody have any questions for Juno or for me? Anything about ETs or anything you want to talk about? I'm not sure. I haven't really been looking at the chat, especially since Susie got here. And I can't see her, so I don't know. She can't give me any signals because she's on her phone if she has any questions or not. So we're a little blind here. If there's no questions, we do have cards to pull cards for you. So anybody there's one. Sounds like Juno is in ET country. Are there many ships visible there, Juno? So are you seeing spaceships where you are now, Juno?
I live down near Tombstone, Arizona now, which is in the southern part of the state. And I'm not out that much at night just because there's like javelinas and coyotes and mountain lions and rattlesnakes. So I haven't really had the opportunity to go out. When my friend gets here in a couple of weeks, I think I'll have more opportunity to get out, because I really do like to get out and look at the night sky. And
well, actually, I've seen I see spaceships in the daytime all the time. Of course, my first ones I was seeing was in the middle of the night, but I do see them in the day. Because I think they hide behind the clouds and then show themselves and go hide behind the clouds again. But you might look up in the sky during the day and look at the cloud formations and see and connect with it, because I know you can do it for sure. Just connect with them.
Yeah, I've seen some interesting things, you know, different interesting cloud formations and whatever. And one time I forgot to mention when I lived up near Sedona, just south of there on this road I traveled on all the time. One time I was driving and it was, you know, there was no houses or anything out there. And there was a big pinyon pine tree. And all of a sudden a portal opened up in this pine tree as I was driving by. And that was the first time I'd seen that. That was pretty cool. It didn't happen every time I went through there, but every now and then it would show itself to me.
So how did you end up living where you're at now?
Oh, we don't have enough time to go into
You can give us the native version.
Well, before here, pre-pandemic, I was living in Tucson for 7 years because one of my best friends turned out to be one of the top teachers of Jin Shin Jitsu in the whole world. So I moved to Tucson to help her facilitate her classes and stuff. And then she worked for people at the Gem Show. So they invited me. And so I used to work at the Gem Show for like 6 or 7 years, which was just, I was in heaven because I've been studying crystals for over 30 years. And to just be surrounded by them, and it was just wonderful. But then when the pandemic hit, you know, and landlords got greedy, and so I had to move. I couldn't afford a place that was where I would feel safe. Right. So I moved an hour away, and I'm out in the desert. I'm a blue dot in the red desert.
Oh yeah, I was like that when I was in Carolina. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, and I'm making the best of it here, and you know.
Do you plan to stay there, or do you plan to move later?
I'm a gypsy. I never know what's coming next. So things are going to shift when my friend gets here. My best friend of 30 years is moving here. I actually met her. She was my hairdresser when I moved to Arizona.
But she's actually moving there. That's good.
Yeah, she bought the place across the street from me. So yeah. And she does eBay and Etsy and stuff, and she sells some of my work she has in the past. So we're hoping to get some online stuff going, and maybe do a YouTube show together, because me and her are the silly sisters when we get together.
There you go. You have some support there.
Yeah, because I'm here I don't know a soul here. I'm very isolated, and so I can't wait to have somebody. I'm going to give her the biggest hug, and probably last an hour when she finally gets here. So
you won't let her leave your house. Okay. All right. Well, let's see what the next question is. Okay, White Dragon. I own 3 pieces of Motivite, 1 ring, 1 pendant, and an ear stud. Motivite and Herkimer diamond is very powerful combo. Juno. Yes. Yes.
Yes,
you too can handle it. I'm not sure I can handle all that power. Maybe.
Oh, you'd be surprised. You might just be that you have to get used to it. And another thing, when I did my genealogy, I found out that my ancestors settled Herkimer County, New York, which is where Herkimer diamonds come from.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool.
To me, I tried a while back, might have even been over a year ago, that I was trying this Motivite, carrying it around. I was like, what is going on? And then I realized, oh, I don't think this is the one I'm supposed to be carrying around.
Well, you know, and they have a very different energy, and a lot of people it's I think the Native Americans call it the talking stone. You know, there's so much that comes off from it that it can kind of freak you out at first, but you know, if you work with it. There was a book written by, he was a Native American from the White Mountain. I'm sorry.
I probably can't do it now, but at that time I couldn't. But go ahead.
I think you'd be interested in it. But this Native American man and his wife went to Sedona to sell. They made turquoise jewelry, I think, things like that. So they would go to Sedona and sell it. And while they were there, she picked up a piece of moldavite, you know, bought it and brought it home and put it under her pillow. And I don't know if he knew about it or not, but like the next morning, he goes, "What was that?" Like he got so many messages, and it was like talking to him that, you know, he questioned her, "What is that stone?" You know, so he wrote a whole book about it. I think it's called The Old Ones Speak. I think his name is Dennison Sosi, Tsosi. I can give it to you afterwards, and you can post it if you want. It's a very interesting.
Maybe that's what the problem was, is because they speak to me all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. That's probably what I wasn't able to handle. If that was amplifying it.
Yeah, and that was what freaked this guy out. And he was, you know, he was used to receiving messages,
Mhm.
you know, and the area he was from, I think, was near where that, you know, that movie that they made about from Snow, was it from Snowflake, Arizona, where the guy was abducted? That they were out like they worked for logging, you know, cutting down trees and stuff,
Yeah.
and they got abducted. He was from that part of the world, you know, so he was used to this kind of stuff, but the messages that came through were just, and I've had, once I got my own piece and I started putting it under my pillow, I had the most amazing out of body experiences from that. So I highly recommend it.
I'm, I'm just, all I'm thinking of is, Juno, is I already have all that. You know, what in the world is going to happen if I put that in my pillow? You know, imagine.
We'll be seeing Dr. Gail up there like the bat signal. We'll see her her image in the sky.
Okay, all right, well, let's go to the next question. Oh, White Dragon. Hey, Juno, what was the funniest looking ET that you have come across? Oh, boy. Gee,
I don't know how to answer that.
funniest one across.
You mean funny as in bizarre, or funny as in they were humorous?
Probably bizarre, don't you think? I'm not sure if he means.
I seeing an actual living being standing in front of you, the tongue flicking and the tail wagging was probably it. That was very startling.
It took me a while to get used to seeing that kind of thing, and also insectoids were hard to get used to, also to look at. But I'm used to them now. Oh, hey, Hypnocy. In the late 80s, my sister who deals with mental illness said aliens planted weeds in her yard. Is that likely? I don't know about planting weeds in the yards, but I'm sure they were probably there. She probably thought that's what they were doing, was planting weeds. I imagine she's extremely connected with it. I'm finding a lot of people who have a lot of mental illness are connected with them, and a lot of the information coming in, they don't know how to handle it. And then it's diagnosed with some type of mental illness. You go ahead, Juno. What's your opinion? Juno? Oh, no. Juno's gone. I'm so sorry. She'll come right back. She does, where she lives, she does say she has kind of sketchy internet service. There she is. She's back. You just disappeared. Are you there, Juno?
Yeah. We both went black with the you know, the circle going and, you know, round and round. So
well, I was still on. Yeah, I was still on. I was explaining about your internet service. But anyway, what did you think about the ETs planting the weeds? Did you even hear what I said?
I didn't hear that. No.
Okay, well, I told her, and she said, if you can bring that one up, in the late 80s, my sister who deals with mental illness said aliens planted weeds in her yard. Is that likely? And I'm going, I'm not sure about the weeds, but I know she's probably very connected with them. A lot of people who have mental illnesses are ones that are connected with the ETs, and they're not exactly sure how to deal with the information they're receiving. And of course, we always think they're mentally ill. So, and then I handed it off to you, and you disappeared.
Yeah, I said, I'm not answering that question.
That's right. So, what do you think?
I agree with what you said. I don't have anything, you know, to add beyond that. You know, I think plants are very interesting things. So, you know, I read many years ago, I read a book called The Secret Life of Plants, and it was where they did experiments with a galvanic skin response, which is like a lie detector. And they hooked it up to a plant, and then they lit a match and, you know, burned the plant, and the plant responded. They could see how, you know, it showed up on the lie detector device, right? And so then they realized that just lighting the match caused the plant to have a reaction. And then when they had the thought to light the match, they didn't even light it yet, and the plants reacted. So plants.
Yeah. Well, you see, this is what I just got. This is what my guys just told me. They said that yes, they were planting the weeds, but they weren't weeds. that was their food that they were planting in the yard.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. So she did see that. She is connected with them, and they were planting their own food in her yard. So now we're all going to go out looking for weeds.
Yeah, and who are we to say they're weeds? You know what I mean? It's very interesting
Exactly.
what we determine to be weeds and what are actually really valuable
Yeah.
plants. But it's just, I just love how, like when you were talking earlier about how the messages come through the water and the trees and the birds. And,
Mhm.
you know, I think water is the common denominator. Like if you study Dr. Emoto, where it took the pictures of the water crystals.
Uh-huh.
Is that okay?
Yeah, she's it's her allergies, and she's scratching herself and healing her own self. She just had an allergy shot, so I'm not sure why it's bothering her.
Poor baby.
Anyway, she's getting ready to crank up and come over here and get attention.
Yeah.
So,
But I think that the way a lot of that communication happens, and a lot of the way our intuitive abilities work, is through the water. You know,
right.
Plants have water and birds have water. We have water.
Well, you know, they do call us a bag of water. That's how they look at humans. As we are a bag.
Really?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that's flattering.
When they told me that, I was going, you know, I was a little offended. Then I thought about it. I went, oh, yeah, we are, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yeah.
That's pretty funny.
And I think that's how they get our messages to us easily, because we are a bag of water, and it, you know, comes right in pretty easily.
Well, the water carries the messages, you know.
Right.
That's it's really fascinating.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next question. Hey, Damaris, Dr. Gail, I asked my peeps to let me remember my trip. So far, it's just in tiny bits in my dream and state, and I'm working around water. Okay, well, good. Damaris, I have pads next to my bed to write on. Everywhere in the house, I have places to write on. Also, I'm used to having my phone next to me, and sometimes I'll write something in my phone or either speak into it. And if I wake up and I say, oh, I'm going to remember this tomorrow, I never do. If I don't write it down or speak into it, I never remember it. So good for you, Damaris. I think you'll eventually get there, finding out what you're doing in your little spaceship. Okay.
And something I learned from Allie Martin was, like, if you're trying to, like, if you keep your pad of paper, you know, to write down your dreams or your experiences, to make sure to write them down before you put your feet on the floor in the morning, because once your feet hit the floor, you tend to start to forget.
Oh yeah, well, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and write it down. I usually don't. Let me take her color off. I usually, if I wait till morning, it's gone, and even if I go back to sleep and it's a really strong something that I need to remember, I never will. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good for you, Damaris. All right. Next person. Hey, Lyra, how can you pull? Oh, can you pull a card for me? Okay. Let's pull a card.
All right.
I'm going to pull out a Raise Your Vibration Oracle deck.
Nice.
I know I love this deck. I just got this deck. Actually, Nancy Jean showed me this. Okay. Oh, shift your perspective. Shift your perspective. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if you can see that. Those words there. There you go. Shift your perspective.
Looks like confetti or something.
It does, but it says shift your perspective. So what it is they're telling you to look at it a different way. Apparently, you're all involved in something that you're needing to take a different look at it. Just kind of pull yourself away from the situation. But I'm getting this more as being your metaphysical journey, that you need to shift your perspective on how you're looking at something or something you want to do, or you're trying to fit yourself in a box and it's not quite working. That's what I'm really getting, is that you're trying to fit yourself in a box and it's not really working, and you got to shift your perspective and look at what your talents are and not what everybody else's is. Okay. Excellent. All right, Juno, go ahead.
I got this deck that I really like, the Animal Apothecary.
Yes, I like that. Look at the color.
Pardon me?
We were just talking about turquoise. I said, look at the color of that box.
Oh, there you go. And that's what I pulled. Claim your power of that big, powerful tiger. Yeah. So shift your perspective and claim your power, you know. The world needs us to step out
Mhm.
more than ever. And, with the eclipses that we went through and the 1111 portal, the ascension portal, and, world, I think this community has brought together a bunch of introverts that would normally, not
Yeah,
come out from under the bushel basket. And it's like, this is what we're here for. This is what we've been preparing for. And, you know, take
right.
the eye of the tiger there.
Good. All right, thanks, June. Okay, next question. Hey, Gina, I have a strange question. There are no stranger questions. This is supposed to ask it. Okay, I have a strange question. As we use currency exchange here to be paid for work is there, a form of payment or wages GTs use. They don't. They don't use wages. You're more just proud of your work, and you kind of get compensated, not monetarily, but like in promotions or I'm not exactly sure. And also each ET race is different on that also, but they don't really use currency as much as they do kind of like awards or promotions or just other fields, things that they really don't use a currency. Now, I do think they do when it comes to trading with like other ETs or other nations, or I think they do some kind of bartering system and trading like that. But individually, I haven't seen a currency used. How about you, Juno? Anything?
I wondered that same question. So I appreciate your answer, because you know a whole lot more about the ETs than I do.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I haven't seen it, but I do know they barter between ETs or different species of ETs. Okay, all right, next. All right, Sonawat, could you tell me the name of my main ET guide? Okay, Sonawat, let me see. Main ET guide. Starts with an A. Angela. Female. And she looks Arcturian. So there you go, son. What I think her name is Angela, or either she likes to be called Angela. It's usually Earth thing they're giving me is what they want to call, because we can't a lot of times can't pronounce their real name. And it looks like to me she's a pretty female Arcturian, lucky you.
Bless you.
Okay. All right, Juno, you got anything on that?
I don't. That's
That's
a
okay.
gift I have yet to develop.
That's okay. Okay. All right. Next. Hey, Deep Albuquerque, what is Moldavite supposed to do for the human body? There you go, Juno. This is you, all over you. You take this question.
It really helps with any kind of energy healing, whether you're a giver or a receiver of it. It really helps to connect us. It's really good for transformation. It's good for rapid spiritual evolution, chakra activation. So, if you're getting your chakras energized and cleared, and spinning in the right direction, that is going to have a direct effect on your human body, not just on your spiritual self.
Right.
So, when I take a shower, I use the shower rod and I spin all my chakras. I go start at like I go the one below the root chakra, and I go the one above the crown chakra, and I work all the way up. And, we're all energy.
Yeah.
And we're so taught to see this as a allopathic, take this pill, whatever, and that's going to help you. But if you deal with these things on an energetic level before they become manifest, you have a better chance of, moving past them.
Right.
And Moldavite also increases synchronicities. So, any of these things that are bringing you into spiritual alignment are going to have a direct effect on helping you in your physical body.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just think it enhances any kind of, even if you take medications or you have, certain procedures done through doctors and whatever, the Moldavite is going to help your body deal with all that and helps facilitate the changes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. Thanks for answering that question. And I was just sitting there about the chakras. For me, I go from the crown down. I go opposite people. And the reason why is very early on when I started going from the ground up, every time I would climb out of my crown chakra and go up, and I had a hard time coming back down to my crown chakra. So now I start with the crown and go down.
Oh, yeah.
And I would go up, and a lot of times, in fact, that was the first time I met Jesus, was when I went climbing out my crown chakra. And when I climbed out of it, I saw his feet first, and they were in sandals. And I thought, okay, who is this? And I kept climbing on out. And then I was face to face with him. And of course, the words that came out of my mouth, I was embarrassed. And I went down to my knees, and I was begging for forgiveness of what I said to his face. And so anyway, so that's how I met him. I mean, it's not that formal with us now, but at that time I said, okay, I'm going crown down.
Yeah.
I'm not going to embarrass myself like that again. So,
Well, I think everybody, that's an important thing to say, is different people, we all have our ways of working with the stones and with our chakras and with spirit and whatever. And one isn't right or wrong. It's what's working for you, And sometimes what works for you for a while will change, and then you shift and do it another way too.
yeah, because right now I probably could go the other way and not have an issue with it. But at that time I was having an issue getting back down into my crown. So it scared me a little bit. And then meeting Jesus and some of the words that came out of my mouth. So,
Jesus, did you?
oh no, it was other words that I said.
Well, I had an experience with a meditation, with a shamanic journey. And, I've had Terry Suzuki and some other readers have talked about how Archangel Michael is here protecting me. And he's like huge. He's like a giant. Mm-hmm. And I did a spiritual journey with Danny Shea. And when we walked out of the house, and all of a sudden it was like King Kong, and I was Fay Ray. Archangel Michael just swept me up, just picked me up. And it was like, wow, what was that? But I was glad he did. So I feel very, very protected here in my little modest home.
Well, you were the other day. That's who showed up to protect you again, put you in a bubble after that gray hybrid cleaned your space up.
I'm so grateful with that gray hybrid. I gotta get his number and see if he does windows, because
there you go. Or houses, anything.
Yeah, I know. I clean my house in a hurry. I take my glasses off and everything's clean. I can't see a thing.
I know. My sister complains about that with her husband. She goes, he'll go clean the bathroom without his glasses on. I have to go clean behind him. Okay. All right. Next question. All right, Gene Journey 1. Juno, how and what age did you learn to crochet? Are there other forms of art you also enjoy? Oh, that's a good question. Thanks,
Thanks for asking. Yeah, my mother taught me to embroider and knit and crochet, starting when I was 5 years old. And so she taught me the basics, and then I just really took off from that. And I just love it. And it's like meditation for me. And I've had some physical issues pretty much my whole life and have been bedridden a lot. So for me to be able to keep my hands busy just really helps. It's very pain relieving for me to sit and do my work. But I do Native American seed bead work, like reproduction pieces from the 1800s. And I, to study the different tribes and the colors and the patterns and the techniques they would use. I do all kinds. I do everything that's not, non-toxic, like no paints, no glues. I can't get involved with any of that because I'm too sensitive. But I'd love to do anything with the fiber arts, quilting. But I probably crochet more than anything.
Okay.
I can. When the friend that's actually moving here, when I helped her move to Indiana, we were staying. I lived by myself for a long time, so I don't know what I'm doing in my sleep. And we were sharing a hotel room, and she told me that I crochet in my sleep. So no wonder I'm so tired in the morning.
Okay. All right. Well, next question. All right, G. Covington. Do we all have ET guides? If so, what is the name of my ET guide? The more protection, the better. No, not everybody does have an ET guide. There's a lot, especially the ones that are listening here. Most of you do because you're interested in ETs. The ones well, I wouldn't say all do, but I would say a good part of who is listening to me or, resonate with me, that you do have ET guides because you're connected to the ETs. So let me see about what ET guide you might have. Looks like there's a Palladian. Starts with F, his name. Fraught. F-R-O-T is what he's showing me. I've never heard of that name before. Fraught. F-R-O-T. So there you go, G. Covington. That's a strange name. His name is Fraught, and he is the Palladian guide that you have with you. It doesn't look like looks like he's a guide with you, but it looks like you have a lot of relatives around you, actually. But he is there also. Okay. Did you have anything to say about that?
I don't. Maybe you can teach me how to do this.
Dude, I can't even teach myself how to do this. I'll do it. I just talk to me. I love it. I know. Put my my parameters or what I cannot jump in my body. You can give me all the information you want, but it don't jump in my body. That's where I draw the line.
I'm with you on that one. I'm definitely with you on that one.
Yeah.
They wouldn't want to be in my body.
Well, I mean, there's so many channelers that there are in the bodies, and every time I look at that, I'm going, not me, not jumping in my body.
Yeah, I don't mind listening to their messages, or decoding things, but
I know I can talk. I can say what they're saying, and they just don't have to be in my body speaking. I can.
Yeah.
That's the line. Okay. All right. Next question. Hey, Chris, Dr. Gail, do you know the name? If the 3 fairies in my yard, 2 female, 1 male. Oh, well, Chris, I haven't ever tried to find names of the fairies, but I'm really become connected to them here recently. 2 female, 1 male. Christina. She's the one up front and center. She's the leader. Let's see, she'll introduce me to the other 2. She's blocking them out. And the guy's name is Christian. I think there's a theme here. Crystal. Yeah, they do have a theme. The main one, the noisy one, is Christina. The other female is Crystal, and his name is Kristen. And they're all apparently they act like they're related. They act like they're family. So there you go, Chris. They're those names. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get those, but Christina came right up. Okay, next. Hey, Prince Charlie's mom, is there a good online site to get motivated? There you go, Juno.
I used to go to the gem show and I bought my stuff directly, so I don't know. And you have to be careful because there's a lot of people out there selling you stuff that isn't what they say it is.
Actually, Nancy Jean talks about places that are good, so you might want to check with her or email her and ask her.
Well, my plan also when my friend gets here and if we get my website set up, I'll be able to go to the gem show. So I will be able to be a source for a lot of these cool things. So stay tuned. I'll know that in January. I'll let people know, but it'd be the kind of thing where if there's certain things that they're looking for. Because the gem show
when is she coming? When is she coming? She'll
be here within a week or 2. And
you can get going for Christmas.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, she's got a lot of adjusting to do. I don't think we'll get it up to that level, but the gem show starts like the very end of January and then into February. So, I'm hoping to.
Well, Hypnicity's saying the name of somebody. Mark Bajarski has great stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Check that out. All right. It looks like we have time for just one more question. So who's next? Hey, Mama Bear, do I have an ET guide? Okay. There's something huge there. Let's see if it's ET. It is an ET. I don't know what species that is. He's huge. Oh my gosh, his name, Fritter Brocken. Why didn't you give me a Fritter Brocken? He says, call him Fred. Thank you. Fritter Brocken. I don't even know how to spell that. Okay, there you go, Mama Bear.
Dr. Gail, did they ever give you names that are in like light language? You know what I mean? Like those, or you know, like weird
Squeaky
sound. Yeah.
Yeah, they do. They'll start off with like a squeak sometimes, or a squeak,
Like
or
a clicking or something.
or a click, and I'll look at them and go, really? And then they'll think about it a minute and go, okay, give her this name. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, all the time. Okay, all right. Thanks, Juno, for joining us. Thanks, Susie, for your help, and thanks everybody for showing up today. All right,
Send you a big heart. Love you guys.
all right. Bye-bye.
Bye.